Here's something that will make traditional publishers everywhere question their judgment calls. Two beloved mouse characters that were repeatedly rejected for being too sophisticated for children are now heading to the big screen, proving that sometimes the industry gets it spectacularly wrong. Paulette LeBlanc, who serves as editor of the Pine Island Eagle and created the enchanting Toofer The Giblet book series, just received news that will forever change how she views her evening television routine. Her whimsical mouse duo will leap from printed pages to animated screens in what's shaping up to be one of 2026's most anticipated family entertainment releases. But here's where the story gets truly fascinating, and perhaps a bit controversial. The journey began in 2010, when LeBlanc started crafting tales about two unlikely mouse friends living in the magical world of Nimblewood. Rather than relying on focus groups or market research, she turned to her most brutally honest critics, her own children. Her teenage son, in particular, became her unofficial quality control manager. I would approach them and ask, "What's your take on this?" LeBlanc remembers with a smile. My son, who was around 15 or 16 then, never sugarcoated anything. If something genuinely amused him, he'd acknowledge it with, "All right, that's pretty good." And I knew it belonged in the story. However, if my kids gave me that look that said, "You've got to be kidding me," I'd immediately remove it. I trusted their judgment completely because I knew they wouldn't spare my feelings. What makes this approach so intriguing is how LeBlanc drew inspiration from real-world experiences, conversations she'd overheard, personal situations she'd navigated, stories shared by friends, and then asked herself a simple but profound question. How would this scenario play out if the characters were mice instead? LeBlanc describes her protagonists as the ultimate odd couple. Toofer embodies the thoughtful, introspective, wise companion, while the Giblet represents his polar opposite, spontaneous, outgoing, and notorious for diving headfirst into situations without considering the consequences. Despite Toofer's frequent frustrations with his friend's impulsive nature, their bond remains unbreakable. And this is the part most people miss. The breathtaking artwork that brings these characters to life comes from Dmitry Morozov, a talented watercolor artist residing in Ukraine. Throughout the ongoing conflict in his homeland, Morozov has continued creating the stunning illustrations that grace each book, literally working under fire to ensure the series maintains its visual magic. This dedication raises profound questions about art persisting through adversity and whether we truly appreciate the sacrifices behind the entertainment we consume. The creative development process revealed fascinating insights about artistic evolution. LeBlanc invested an entire year crafting the inaugural Toofer the Giblet adventure, admitting she was still discovering her characters' true personalities. I was uncertain about my direction and who these characters really represented, she explains. It mirrors any beloved television series. The initial seasons focus on character exploration, and by the third season, everything clicks into place. This learning curve became evident in her writing pace. The second installment, Toofer the Giblet in the Big City, required 6 months of work. The third book? A mere 2 weeks. After completing the third book, a week became my longest writing period, she reveals. One book took only 2 or 3 days to complete. It felt like divine inspiration. Suddenly, I understood exactly what I was doing. The characters had become completely real to me. But here's where it gets controversial, and where traditional publishing reveals its potential blind spots. When LeBlanc initially sought publishers for her series, she faced repeated rejections. The industry feedback? Her vocabulary choices were considered too challenging for young readers, and the stories weren't deemed trendy enough for contemporary markets. This raises a provocative question. Are we systematically underestimating children's intellectual capabilities in favor of what adults assume they want? Fate intervened during a routine journalism assignment. While covering a recognition event for The Breeze, LeBlanc encountered Julie Coaster, who was being honored for her work with Dragon House Agency. During the standard interview process, LeBlanc discovered Costa's ambitious, results-driven personality. The following day, LeBlanc reached out, seeking guidance about her passion project's future direction, completely unaware of Costa's deep connection to children's literature. Books and reading consume my thoughts. I'd honestly prefer living inside a bookstore, Costa admits. My mother operates a children's bookstore, and I launched a toy company specifically to feature exclusively children's literature. Paulette had no knowledge of this background when she approached me for advice. What happened next defied both women's expectations and created a publishing industry story that challenges conventional wisdom about how books find their way to readers. After Costa brought the Toofer the Giblet manuscript home and absorbed every word, she arrived at work the next morning with an announcement that would change everything. She informed her business partner, P. Blake Render, that she'd discovered something extraordinary. When LeBlanc returned for their second meeting, expecting practical guidance about navigating the publishing world, Costa presented a proposition that seemed almost too good to be true. "We're establishing a publishing company specifically because we believe in this book," Costa declared. "I recognized its potential immediately upon reading it." Costa elaborates on what separates exceptional children's literature from mediocre attempts. Multiple elements must align when evaluating a manuscript. Character development represents the foundation. Paulette's work surpasses most children's books by light years in this area. Beyond that, world building becomes crucial. She didn't just create the physical environment. She crafted how characters interact within their world and beyond it, exploring what these relationships mean to each individual character. That level of sophistication demonstrates incredible storytelling power. Thus, Dragon Horse Publishing emerged with a singular mission, bringing Toofer the Giblet to readers worldwide. Once the books launched in premium hardcover format, featuring high-quality paper and Morozov's exceptional illustrations, recognition followed swiftly. The inaugural book claimed a BookFest First Place award in the Fables category and secured second place in chapter books. Blue Ink Review designated it a notable book. The series' second installment earned first place in BookFest's Fiction Children's Chapter Books category, second place for Artistic Technical Book Cover, and third place in Fiction Children's Fairy Tales. The promotional trailer showcased the series' cinematic potential by winning Silver Telly Awards for book trailer, editing, and voiceover narration. At the prestigious 72nd Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity, the trailer received multiple award nominations. But the most compelling validation comes from unexpected sources. Costa shares that grandparents frequently contact Dragon Horse Publishing to express their enthusiasm for the series, often purchasing duplicate sets, one for grandchildren, another for personal enjoyment. One particularly touching letter stated, "Magnificent little books, gorgeously illustrated, charming and captivating. They deserve to become international bestsellers found in every home." Another correspondence revealed, grandparents fortunate enough to share these stories with their precious ones will tuck them into bed, prepare a cup of tea, and read the adventures again for themselves. Firuza Dumas, a multi-award-winning New York Times best-selling author and Costa's friend, provided this endorsement. "These represent the types of stories that create lasting impressions on our hearts, destined for classic status. Reminiscent of Frog and Toad, these delightful tales showcase everything meaningful in life. Children will adore them, but adults lucky enough to read them aloud will treasure them equally." Local impact stories demonstrate the series' emotional resonance. A Southwest Florida classroom incorporated the books into their curriculum, inspiring one particularly enthusiastic student to bring a small stuffed mouse to the playground, reenacting scenes as Toof and Gib. The transition from page to screen materialized through Render's Hollywood connections, bringing FL6 Entertainment into the Toofer the Giblet family. FL6 Entertainment, spearheaded by co-founders and producers Tracy Geim and Dan Grodnick, contributes substantial industry expertise to the project. Bean, who manages the FL6 Series Fund, brings recognized experience in creators development and digital transformation, while Grodnick's impressive portfolio encompasses more than 70 successful film and television productions. Toofer The Giblet represents exactly the kind of rich, character-driven universe that practically demands adaptation, Beam explains. We're excited to transform this charming, humorous, and sophisticated world into visual entertainment, sharing it with families globally. With their award-winning trailer now available, Dragon Horse Publishing concentrates on their studio partnership to introduce Toof and Gib to expanded audiences, simultaneously driving book sales through increased visibility. Render outlines their strategic approach. The blueprint involves launching directly on streaming platforms next summer. That distribution method dominates the current landscape. Children's animated series have experienced tremendous growth. Our ultimate ambition involves transitioning to theatrical releases. We've already generated significant interest from prominent actors and actresses regarding voice work. The adaptation process reveals remarkable respect for LeBlanc's original vision. Early screenplay drafts remain almost entirely faithful to her written work. Protecting the integrity of the original writing ranks extremely high on everyone's priority list because it's so masterfully crafted, Costa emphasizes. It's simultaneously funny and remarkably intellectual. The combination of wit, wholesomeness, and charm, plus countless relatable experiences within Paulette's brilliantly created world, makes this series special. Render shares an ambitious dream. I envision a Toofer Giblet balloon participating in a Thanksgiving Day parade. This announcement with FL6 Entertainment represents our hope for achieving broader distribution and engagement with these stories. We couldn't be more thrilled with our current position. For LeBlanc, one of the most surreal moments occurred during a post-publication visit to Barnes & Noble. They created an entire display case exclusively for Toof and Gib, she recalls with wonder. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The past 5 years have felt like a pinch me. Whirlwind for LeBlanc, particularly now with her characters preparing for screen adaptation and national exposure. I've relied heavily on my faith throughout this journey, she reflects. Julie's passion, combined with Blake's determination, explains how we've reached this point. It truly feels like a dream materializing. LeBlanc often contemplates what her characters might tell her during this transformative period. Gib would say, just enjoy yourself. Whatever you pursue, ensure you're having fun. Otherwise, why bother, LeBlanc imagines. Toofer would advise, be thoughtful and cautious. Don't confuse your identity with your assumptions. He possesses such wisdom. I'm amazed by what I can express through their distinct personalities. When asked about her preparedness for the moment she'll casually flip on her television and see Toof and Gib animated on screen, LeBlanc admits, I'm completely unprepared for that experience. It will probably overwhelm me emotionally. Toofer and the Giblet have represented, in many ways, the love of my life, and they felt like my children. I'm grateful the world will have an opportunity to fall in love with them the way I have. But here's what makes this story truly thought-provoking. It challenges fundamental assumptions about children's entertainment and publishing industry gatekeeping. If major publishers dismiss this series for being too sophisticated, what other potentially brilliant works are we missing because they don't fit predetermined market expectations? The success of Toofer the Giblet raises uncomfortable questions about whether the industry systematically underestimates young readers' intelligence and appetite for quality storytelling. Are we creating a generation of children who expect simplified content, or are we simply not giving them credit for their ability to engage with complex, beautifully crafted narratives? What do you think? Should children's literature challenge young minds with sophisticated vocabulary and intricate character development? Or does the publishing industry's initial hesitation reflect legitimate concerns about accessibility and market viability? The success of LeBlanc's series suggests we might be significantly underestimating what children want and deserve from their reading experiences. For additional information about Toofer the Giblet, including trailer viewing and book ordering options, visit tooferandthegiblet.com.